first off, I'm very excited. I guess we should say you guys are going to be in Louisville May 10th at Zanzibar. So it'd be great to finally see you guys live.
We're excited to come.
Yeah, I say finally, but I mean, I guess we're just really all discovering you guys for ourselves. So I feel like we should probably start with that story, and I'm sure that's a story you're telling right now a lot. But it's the creation story. Like, where did you guys come from? How did you get to here?
It's a good one. We actually met about 6 years ago in college. We lived in the same dorm our freshman year. We actually met walking back from our first class together, and we walked into a tree on our way back to our dorm. So we were basically forced to be friends after that. A low-hanging tree branch, I believe it was.
So what does it take off from there? Because you become friends. When do you figure out that you sound good together?
How did it go from band?
Yeah, right.
To band from there. Well, that's a longer story. So after the low-hanging tree branch incident, we were friends, and we both heard each other sing one day. We also found out we lived in the same dorm, and I heard JJ sing, and I was just like thrown to the floor. Like, I was just amazed by her voice. I thought it was the most beautiful, unique thing I had ever heard. And JJ incredibly describes like a similar story about hearing me sing for the first time. So we both had like a kind of like a musical connection off the bat. And we used to do a lot of singing together in college, just kind of casually, like while walking to dinner or doing stuff like that. And we eventually joined an a cappella group, which is a less important aspect of things.
Those recordings exist, you know.
Unfortunately, they do. Mm-hmm. So singing was like always a part of like our friendship and something we really enjoyed doing together. And it wasn't until like our senior year where, we were getting ready to graduate and both going through a lot of like personal turmoil about all the changes and transformation and the future. And music really provided this like way of healing from that and connecting through that. And so we started writing music to kind of work through like some of the feelings we were having at that time. And we wrote our first song together, which was Little Memory, which will be on the record. Mm-hmm. And we were just really blown away by like what we could create together. It really felt like the sum was like greater than, what is it? The sum,
the whole greater than the sum,
was greater than the sum of its parts. Yeah. That's what it felt like. Like our voices, we actually have quite different voices, but when we sing together, it really feels like one voice. And so that just like gave us a lot of light in a hard time. And so we just sort of kept going. And then the way that we got to where we are now is like, I have no idea, but we just worked really hard. And
I mean, there's a part of your story where you guys take off to Dublin, right? For 3 months?
There is.
We spur of the moment, right after graduating from college, just decided that it would be a great idea for us to live in Dublin, Ireland. So, and it was a great idea. We had a wonderful time, and I think that actually living in Dublin, which is kind of, I don't know, like it's such a hub for singer-songwriters and for musicians who are trying to get their start. There's sort of an open mic night in every bar every single night. Mm-hmm. And so we spent all of our money and dwindled all of our savings, but we did play live almost every day. And so that was a huge part of like growing into who we wanted to be and realizing that we wanted, we could envision the electronic side of our music, but at that time we couldn't actually sort of create it live. And so the last like year and a half has been one of figuring out exactly what our sound is and what the vision we had was and how to translate that into a live performance. And I think that Dublin really helped with that. But we love it.
Fire.
We're excited. Yeah. I mean, at the heart of our music is really the sort of songwriting and storytelling that Hana and I do with our lyrics and melodies, but we want the instrumentation and the backdrop to sort of lift you and kind of express the same emotion as as the songwriting. And so learning how to use like electronics and in that, within that realm, trying to keep things sort of minimal and only putting what you really need in order to like feel the things you want to feel. That's been sort of, I guess for me, like what the last year and a half has been. And then it all culminates in this album that we get to release. And that's like, I don't know, like I feel so honored. It's this like entire body of work that we get to put out, and hopefully people will listen to it. Yeah.
You talked about the songs there, and the ones that are already out. It's interesting because, and maybe I'm sure you've noticed, there's a dark theme that goes along with the 3 singles, not including the cover. The 3 songs that's out there, and I literally mean dark. I mean, and Hold Me Close, you've got Till the Night Turns Gray. Nighttime Hunter is in the name, along with When the Darkness Comes, and then Leave the Light On. There's something going on there. What is that?
I'm glad you've picked up on that. Yeah, I mean, that's a huge theme for us working within our music, kind of talking about darkness and light. For one, as metaphor, for sure, kind of like we talk a lot about how we want our lyrics to feel like a diary entry that you were not supposed to see. And so we like them to be really raw. And where that connects is kind of like, obviously it's kind of an uncomfortable thing to show people your darkness. Like we're supposed to be polite and supposed to be happy and supposed to be having a good time. And so to really, vulnerability obviously can definitely be like positive and showing people really positive feelings. But a lot of the time it relates to showing people things that you feel ashamed of or feel embarrassed of, and maybe like a darkness like inside of you that you wish wasn't there. And so a lot of our lyrics and kind of our purpose in music really is bringing a lot of those dark thoughts and lyrics to light and showing people that like if we talk about these things, if we make them more acceptable, more common, they don't have to be as scary. And so that's a huge thing that we try to deal with, and it definitely comes into our lyrics for sure.
Does that play into the album title as well?
A little bit. The album title, Young, is sort of about, I mean, the whole album is about growing up and sort of trying to figure out who you are and how to navigate change and how to navigate becoming a woman in this day and age. And I think that part of that is like anxiety and depression and fighting those things or figuring out how to live with them and not let them control you. And I think like Young is just like the title itself is just like this sort of, I don't know, it like there's a few definitions of the word young, and I think like there's this like youthful kind of like positivity, there's a naivete, there's sort of like, well, actually like here's this album about growing up, but we're still really young, like growing up in the past like 2 years. I think they're all sort of interconnected, but I think you did pull one of the biggest themes from I didn't even notice that they all had light and dark in them.
I think young also, like for me it's like obviously like we are pretty young, but we're also like not that young. But I think for me, how it relates to all of this is it's like about the learning process and the transformation and always like getting better and learning how to grow up, which is like a constant process. So I hear, even when you get older.
Word on the street is...
A little side curiosity from something you mentioned in there about, learning how to be a woman in this day and age. You just got off tour with Tennis, which is what their whole new record is really about. I just had Elena on my show yesterday. Did you?
Oh my God!
Yeah, did you all get to talk about any of that? Because that's very much on her mind right now.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit. We love Elena and Patrick. They're like our mom and dad. Speaking of young.
And by mom and dad, we mean brother and sister.
Yeah, older brother and sister, slightly older brother and sister.
No,
Yeah, no.
Elena calls herself my mom.
And not my
Little
mom.
bit
No, I'm
weird.
just kidding.
She's picked a favorite, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't know about this.
No, she thinks of you as a friend, and then she thinks of me as daughter.
I'm going to start some
Wow,
war right now. That's great.
Yeah, what is happening? I want to be her daughter too.
I think
you
that ship,
can
has,
be.
Well.
that ship has sailed, to use a nautical
Yeah.
tennis term for us all.
Yes, very good, very good. No, tennis has always been an inspiration for us, and we love their music. So actually getting to tour with them was just like really incredible. I think, yeah, it was interesting watching like Elena in action, because she's sort of the female voice, and her entire team is male. And I think Hana and I, we have a different experience of, like, I guess, growing into the music industry, which is that, like, we've always had each other, and we're kind of like just two women, and we try to take things by storm, and we haven't really had a backing band. We've on and off, we've had somebody helping us with percussion, but like for the most part, it's just the two of us up there. But I think we saw a lot of what like Elena is talking about on the new album, and sort of like figuring out how much of yourself you can give to men. Like a lot of what she was talking about on the record, and hearing their set every night, I was like super inspired to. There was a song that she finished with every night called Bad Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like, every time it got me. I was like, I don't know, like, I think that it's hard being a woman in the music industry, and it must be especially hard being sort of married to your partner and married to the person that you're going through this whole like crazy music life with. And I think that she does like an incredible job.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, always inspired by tennis, always inspired by Elena and how she carries herself through life, and especially through the music industry. But yeah, I think that it makes sense that it's sort of a theme for, like, I know we're not unique in writing an album about becoming women, and how today's political climate and just like social climate is especially challenging for females. But I think like it makes sense that right now there's a lot of work coming out by women and for women, and I think that's like
Totally.
super cool.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I mean, if now is exactly the time to be talking about all this, and I find that a lot of the conversations I'm having with a wide array of different types of artists, now is the time that, you know, to be reflecting what's going on out there in so many different ways, and I'm glad you guys are tackling it. And, you know, on top of that, I mean, the songs are just really great. You know, we've loved them from the very first. So I'll throw in one of those great generic lines of "keep doing what you're doing."
Thank you.
And again, I'll be excited to see you guys here in Louisville, May 10th at Zanzibar. And until then, take care out there, and thanks again for the conversation today.
Thank you,
Thank
Kyle.
you so much.
All right, it was a pleasure, and we'll see you guys down the road.
Okay,
All right,
talk
sounds
next.
good.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.